Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Kirpin, and I am an instructor at New England Base Camp, and I am a den leader for Pack 71 Dorchester. And today, I have some heartbreaking news. Yesterday, I thought I'd lost my wallet. I couldn't find it anywhere. But I'm like, okay, whatever. But this morning, I woke up to this note by my bed. If I can't see if you can see it here, it says $100 on the porch at noon or else. So I'm worried. I think that somebody stole my wallet and I have to figure out who. And I was able to do a little bit of digging investigation, and I've narrowed it down to one of four suspects. Let me show you guys those suspects now. We have Ollie the Owl. You can see his lifeless eyes, his blank expression. We have Willie the Wolf. I tried to get him to talk, but he said nothing yet. Then you're noticing alliterations of the theme. So our next guy here is Fred the horse. He's German. And then we have James the red fox. So one of these guys stole my wallet. I have to figure out who. I've done a bit of work, but I'm going to show you a dramatic reenactment of how the interrogation process went down first. So, started with Fred here. Asked him a couple questions. Fred, did you do it? Nine. No, he didn't. Okay. And I checked his pockets. Nothing in there. But what's this? A blue pen? It could possibly be him. So we're just going to put that there. And that's actually kind of how all the investigation went. I tried to get them. They said nothing. It's like their lips are sewn shut. But when I went and I investigated their pockets, I was able to find that each of them had a blue pen. This one was actually pretty funny because, I checked this pocket, nothing. I checked this pocket, nothing. But I noticed a suspicious lump in his mouth, and it turns out that Ollie had been hiding it in his beak. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of forensic science. I'm going to use a process known as ink chromatography to figure out which one of these rascals, let me show you their blank, hardened expressions once again, one of these guys wrote this note, and I don't have to guess. I can actually figure out using a process called ink chromatography. So this next part, I'm going to try and do it, and everyone can follow along if they want, or they can watch it later and repeat. But it's actually fairly simple. Luckily for me, my criminals use a coffee filter, though any other normal sheet of paper will work too. It just won't be as fast. And what I'm going to do is... the owl is my suspect. Why would he hide it in his mouth? But we'll figure out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut out a strip of this that includes some of the ink. Fortunately, we have this exclamation point right here that I think will serve the job perfectly. And I want to go a little bit past it because you don't want the bottom of the paper to be touching our solution we'll be using later. So we have a strip of paper, and we have the ink at the bottom of that paper. The next thing we'll need is a glass of water and a way to have this hang in so that it won't slip and it won't fall out. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap the top of this, see if that works there. Otherwise, I might need to tape it. So this is one way of doing it. Let me show you that, and I'll actually move on to where I am currently. I've gotten a little bit ahead of the process. My top tech crime lab here. You'll notice I have my ink chromatography going on already. I'm going to do the actual processing of the evidence, though, with you guys. So let me flip this way for a second. So the solution I'm using for this is actually just plain water, lucky for us. If you're trying to get permanent ink to process, you're going to actually need to use rubbing alcohol, but I don't have any spare rubbing alcohol lying around. I'm also going to grab some tape to keep my strip of paper on the pencil, and then I think we're going to be good to go. And while this is going on, I'm actually going to explain what the whole ink chromatography process is and why it works. If I'm quiet right now, it's because I almost did something real unfortunate. Give me 1 second. You'll notice I almost got it to cover the paper. You want to make sure that you don't put in water so high that the ink goes below it, because if you do, it's all just going to bleed into the water and it's not going to rise up the paper. So while I get that figured out, this whole process uses two pretty cool scientific elements. One is the fact that water can travel up surfaces using capillary action. And the other is just actually understanding what dyes are made out of. So let's flip back this way. I'm going to show this process in real time. You'll notice that the water is traveling up that strip of paper. It works on coffee filters. It works on paper towels. It works on paper as well. But again, you might need to have a stronger solution to break it apart. And the way this happens is actually fascinating. Inks are made up of, dye, and dye is made up of pigments. And people forget this because it's really small, but those pieces of pigments are a physical solid object that has weight. And so that means if water is going to rise up that sheet of paper, capillary action, eventually, as the water gets higher and higher, the weight of the pigments in it are going to be too heavy to move. And when that happens, they're going to stay on that spot of the paper, and the water travels up, and the lighter pigments will rise up with it. So if we look at our test strips here, which are a bit more on, you'll notice that the dry erase marker has not moved at all. And this is because the pigment is too well binded to the paper. And if we wanted to get some action there, again, we could use rubbing alcohol or something like that to break down the bonds, and then it would be able to travel up as well. If we look at our G2, our pen, we'll notice that the pigment has risen up, but there's still a very clear line down where I drew it. So that is a bit of evidence that we can use. If we look at the washable Crayola, these are the ones I'm worried about because they're so similar. You'll notice that the pigment is leaving behind these little blue, let me get even closer. These little blue dots, it isn't rising uniformly, whereas the non-washable, the regular Crayola, which I'm pretty sure is also washable, don't tell them that, is rising much more evenly. So, as we watch this one, what we're going to be able to see is that it's going to follow one of those trends. Currently, it looks like it's the washable Crayola, but not sure yet. We're going to give it more time. And while this is going on, I have a challenge to you all at home. If you're watching this now, excellent. If you're watching it later, excellent. I used blue, which some of us might know as a primary color, which means that the only pigments in the blue ink are blue. If we chose a different color, so that could have been, green or yellow, or I know my color's orange. There we go. We would actually maybe be able to see the red and the yellow and the blues separate, which is pretty cool, but that's not my challenge. My challenge to you is to pick a brown, a purple, or a black marker and to try this activity yourself. Because it turns out that those colors specifically, in a majority of markers and pens, are made up of a bunch of wildly different pigments. And this means that it actually becomes a very pretty rainbow smear along your sheet of paper. And once you've done that, if you could take a picture of it and post it online, tagging New England Base Camp so that we can all see, we'll be able to check out the awesome ink chromatography that you guys have been able to do. Anyways, it's looking like I have some pretty conclusive evidence here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my sample test strips, lay them out to dry, and then I'm going to take out my evidence, and we're going to go through and compare. Yes, Joe Kern, we can hopefully get Tony to lock up these foul criminal masterminds at base camp. So here we are. Again, the regular Crayola has an even spread without a lot of dots hanging back. The washable seems to be clumping up towards the middle, and you can see those pretty pronounced dots there. Our Office Depot dry erase marker did not do anything, and our Pilot pen definitely raised, but you can notice that there's still a very strong line from where I put the test line. With that in mind, let's take a look at our evidence. If we look at it, I'm noticing, let me get it focused, that it has clumped up. The blue is deeper towards the middle of the smears, and there is evidence of those really dark spots, especially along, let's see if I can get my finger here. Oh, my finger's so big. Along the inside of that main strike. So, using the power of forensic science, specifically ink chromatography, I am able to tell that the Crayola washable marker belongs to the person who stole my wallet. Let's head back to the suspects and see which of them that was. Oh, non-washable. So it's not that one. So there we have it. Our criminal, James the Red Fox. Now I need to figure out what he did with my wallet. But since I don't want to show me potentially beating the stuffing out of him on this Facebook Live, I'll get my wallet back later. Pardon the pun. So, a quick recap. This is ink chromatography, and the Bear Adventure Forensics asks you to do an experiment using ink chromatography for that adventure. If you're looking for a way to make it more exciting than just, all right, cut the strips, put them in water, you can totally set up a scenario like this, or do something else on your own. Be creative. It's a very fun, cool scientific process. I'm going to reiterate the challenge one more time before I go. I used blue, which is a very boring color for ink chromatography. I challenge you all watching this to go home, use brown, purple, dark gray, or black markers, and try this experiment yourself. You'll notice a wide variety of colors. It's going to look fantastic. And once you've gotten that result, take a photo, put it up on social media, and tag New England Base Camp or Spirit of Adventure Council so that we can see your results. My name is Nick Kirpin, instructor over at New England Base Camp. I hope you have enjoyed this STEM-themed presentation on this Tuesday of STEM Week Online, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in. See ya.